At the public consultation meetings on recycling in Saskatoon, city officials repeatedly stressed that the landfill was a finite resource. To those people who believe in the zero waste philosophy, a landfill is sacred ground which must be protected at all costs. Taxpayers, however, may have a different view. The idea that landfills are finite resources is an example of artificial scarcity that began in the 1980s when landfills were undergoing changes. Higher standards were brought in, better practices were begun, and there were many landfills that were just environmental hazards that had to be closed. As these old landfills were decommissioned, there were fewer and fewer landfills across North America, and that's what made people think that there was a scarcity of landfills. However, something was happening that for some reason no one noticed. There may have been fewer landfills, but the landfills that were there, you actually had a greater capacity in North America to hold garbage than ever before. In this way, the economics of landfills isn't much different than the economics of automobiles. In the early 1900s, there were hundreds of manufacturers of automobiles in North America. 100 years later, there are really only a handful of manufacturers still operating in the automotive field, especially in North America, but the capacity to produce automobiles has grown exponentially. Instead of looking at a landfill as a finite resource, look at it as infrastructure, because that's exactly what it is. It's exactly the same as a police station. No one would consider a police station a finite resource. Our police station has a location kitty corner from City Hall. About $92 million later, it's going to have a new location with modern technology. It'll be more efficient. Effectively, it will have a greater capacity to service the people of Saskatoon. The building on the current location will either have a different use or it will be torn down completely and a new development will go up. If you look at the landfill as infrastructure, Saskatoon's landfill has a location close to the river. Eventually, it'll be moved to a new, better location with modern technology. It'll be more efficient and have a greater capacity to handle a growing city. And just like any other piece of real estate, especially prime real estate, the old location is going to be redeveloped. And what do landfills get redeveloped into? Well, there's a great use. They get turned into parks. Palm Beach County is a tourist destination that turned their landfill into Dyer Park. A landfill close to water may be hazardous. A landfill decommissioned and recreated and re-envisioned as a park close to water is a tourist destination. Landfills are necessary, but they're not permanent. They can be a temporary stepping stone for a better use down the road. Or at least that's what can happen if your city planners, if the people of the city and the leaders have that kind of vision. According to the 2007 Saskatoon Waste Reduction and Recycling Plan, the landfill has a useful lifespan remaining of 15 to 20 years. The city's Let's Talk Recycling brochure and website says that option 3, expand the depot system, will extend the useful lifespan of the landfill by 3.5 years. The same materials show that option 4, mandatory curbside collection, whether done by the more environmentally sound way of source separating or the treating it like garbage where you collect it all together in a commingled system, either way that it's done at the doorstep, it's only going to increase the lifespan of the landfill by 6.5 years. So citizens can pay $3 million a year with option 3 for 3.5 years extension, or spend $7.1 to $11 million per year in option 4 for a 6.5 year extension. That means you only get 3 extra years for a lot more money. There's no difference in the cost of replacing the landfill, no matter what option is chosen, option 3 or option 4. And there's only a 3-year difference in when the landfill will be replaced. But there's a huge difference in the amount of money that will be spent getting to replacing the landfill. Here's a look at how much would be spent by taxpayers on recycling over the years until we got to the time when the landfill would need to be replaced. The green line that we're following is Cosmo's preferred option, a compromise where the city would do option 2 and option 3 combined. So we would have an expanded depot system, and for anybody who is interested, they could get a subsidized private curbside service for those people that would need it. The second orange line is the low estimate at $7.1 million of recycling in option 4, and the gray line is the top estimate at $11 million a year. All of these figures are based on the idea that there would be a 3% inflation rate. After 18 years, Cosmo's compromise would cost the City of Saskatoon taxpayers approximately $89 million, while option 4 will cost between $168 million and $264 million, either 2 or approximately 3 times as much as Cosmo's preferred option. In a direct comparison, option 3 and 2 gets you a new landfill. In 18 years, you've spent $89.1 million. Option 4, up to that time, you spent up to $261 million, but you still have your old landfill going for another 3 years. But if you take a look at it, by the time you have to replace that landfill in just 3 more years, you'll have spent up to $320 million. That's a lot of money to try to save 3 extra years on an old landfill site. Unfortunately, there's a lot of people that just don't care about costs. What they care about is NIMBY, not in my backyard. There are politicians all across North America that will do anything to avoid this debate. Where does the new landfill go? But the different recycling systems that are being proposed don't really change when that debate will occur. Although landfills are unsightly, most of the complaints by citizens about landfills are about the stench and about the vermin that are attracted. But it's not the tin cans, the glass, and the plastic bottles that create this problem. It's the organics, table scraps, and leaves and grass. So if you want to deal with that, you have to deal with the organics, not with the recyclables. We are being asked to envision a city for the next 50 years. Well, at some point in the future, our landfill will look probably something like Dade County, a beautiful park close to the river. Well, we can spend a lot of money getting there, or we can spend a little bit of money getting there, but we'll get there approximately at the same time. The figures, calculations, and timelines in this video are based on published City of Saskatoon materials. However, there was one admission, almost unnoticed, at the public meetings on recycling, an admission made by a City of Saskatoon official that the existing landfill has a remaining useful lifespan of at least 3 more decades. And maybe much more than that. With the useful lifespan of the landfill being extended ever further into the future, maybe attention can be brought to the only finite resource in the recycling debate, and that is the ability of citizens to pay taxes. For that resource is truly finite. You can believe that the landfill is a finite resource, sacred ground that needs to be protected at almost any cost. Or you can believe that that's an imposition of artificial scarcity, that a landfill is a piece of infrastructure with a natural end, and in that natural end, there is a new beginning for another use. The choice and the costs are yours.